Oh, I just thought I'd make a little video on how to service and repair the Hoover Senior Model 652. First thing to do is to plug it in and see what it sounds like, so we'll do that now. Turn it on, have a listen. Make sure you unplug it again before you do anything to it. It's a little bit noisy, the bearings are noisy, so first thing to do is to unhook the bag. There, slide that along, take the bag off, put it out the way. You notice the hood's smashed here and cracked down here, so that needs attention. I've probably got a spare one somewhere that I can use to replace that. So you turn the machine over, like so. Down its top like that. Undo the two clips and take the bottom plate off. There's the belt. The belt's obviously worn out, usually is. You can see the belt's faulty there. Take that off, give that a spin. Little bearings are a little bit noisy, and the brushes definitely need replacing. So take that out. That should pull out quite easily. Quite easily, it's a bit tight, that one. I'll just get something to yank it out with. Camera handle will do. That's right, got that. Take the brush out. You can put it on its end and give it a spin to see when it... It's a bit out of balance, but it's not too bad for an old machine. Bear in mind these have been made for quite a few years. But want some attention. Put that aside. This is the actually the contract model that was used in hotels and things. And you'll notice this one hasn't got a speed switch. There's often a little switch in there which has got a 2-speed motor, and then when you put the converter in the back for the cleaning tools, it operates a little switch and speeds the motor up, so you get more suction. You don't need that extra power when you're using it's a normal carpet sweeper. Now to take the top off, just get a screwdriver, and there's 2 screws that hold the top on. One down there, just undo that. It's just a normal Phillips or POS drive type screw. That on there. Probably all dusty and dirty inside. That's it, those are loose now. Turn the machine back over, the top comes off, and see how filthy it is. There we go. There's the motor. You can see it properly on the camera there. As you can see, it's absolutely covered in dust and things. It's a proper Hoover made motor. Hoover made all their own motors, and it completely can be taken apart completely, and all the individual parts can be changed as necessary. These machines are practically obsolete now, but they're still a damn good cleaner, and they work very well when they're looked after. The first thing to do really is to get another vacuum cleaner and give it a good brush and dust out, so I'll do that now. Right, that's most of the cleaning done. Got most of the dust off. You don't have to take the motor apart unless you need to change the bearings and things. It's a good idea at this stage to turn it over and just check the bearing for play on the fan pulley here. If you can move the bearing in and out, up and down, if there is movement there, a lot of movement there, that indicates a worn ball bearing in the bottom of the motor, whereas side play, lateral play, back like forwards that way, that indicates a worn bearing, a sleeve bearing on the top. I can show you that here. This is a sleeve bearing in here. You can simply remove that. I'll just get a screwdriver, a standard one. These are all old-fashioned slotted screws. Remove these. There are either 3 or 4 depending on the bearings. Some are held on with just 3 screws and some are 4. This is a 4-screw one. That's it. I'll take that, just comes off. That's the sleeve bearing in there. It's a phosphor bronze bush. It's impregnated with grease, so really you shouldn't need to grease it, but generally speaking, when we service them, we do always put a dab of grease on there because it makes it run quieter, but you're not supposed to. In actual fact, they're supposed to grease for life. You just clean the dust out now. That one's fine. It's been replaced at some time. You can tell by the type of bearing and cap. but there's nothing wrong with that, so that'll just be refitted. And the same applies to this. If you want to get the fan off, the easy way, without taking the motor out, shove a screwdriver down through the fan chamber, and it will lock the fan in place while you can just turn this and get that off. Take the fan off, the cooling fan off, and then you can get to the armature down here and the carbon brushes and see the state of them. If you do need to take the motor off, basically there's just 4 screws, one here, one there, one there, and one there, and then the various wires in the terminal block at the back here, and you can lift the whole thing off to inspect the fan, or if you want to do any further extensive repairs to the motor. You can check the fan blades by looking through the bag hole here where the dust comes out. Make sure there's no bits broken off, otherwise if you've got one corner of the blade broken off, it'll put the fan out of balance and it'll sound awful. Check the carbon brushes. You just undo one of these little screws here. Take the screw out and the wire. Be careful not to lose the screw. And it's held on with a little clip. You just unclip it like so. Take that piece off, and you see the spring comes out. And then you can look at the rut. Now those are really worn down. If you look at that, it should be about that length. The new brush, it is about 3/4 of an inch, so I'm going to replace those. I'll have to need to do both sides. That's nice and clean, that brush, and that indicates that the armature isn't worn out or anything. If it was wearing out, in the sense that electrically wearing out, you'd get excessive sparking. You'd find that the brush was rather more burnt. The fact that that brush is very shiny indicates that the armature is running healthily. There's nothing wrong with that, but it does need replacing. That brush looks a little bit hard to me because it's very, very shiny, hard surface. Normally you have a softer brush than that. Anyway, I should replace those. I'll check the other side, but it's probably the same. Should be the same. If you've got one brush that's worn right down and the other one isn't, that's not usually a good sign. It should be about the same wear, which it is. That one's about the same, so that's fair enough really. If one's worn down, it indicates excessive sparking, burning away the carbon, so those will have to be replaced. If you want to take the top of the motor off to inspect the armature, I'm not going to do it at this stage, it doesn't need it in this case. There's 4 screws around here, self-tapping screws, one there, one there, one there, and one there, and with that you can lift the top off and gain access to the armature. And it's possible to take the armature out without actually taking the motor apart. What you can do is, again, put something down in there to hold the fan blades, and then undo this fan pulley, take this off, and you can extract the armature if you're clever. If you don't, if you're quite careful about it. Anyway, that's how you do that. To lubricate the bearing in the motor, if you want to lubricate the bottom bearing, you do need a special grease gun for that. This is a proper Hoover grease gun. As it's set for there, that's set up to lubricate the agitated bearings. That's in this piece, the rotary part. And to grease the bearing in the motor, once you've taken the armature out, you need to use some special nipples on the end, like these. There's various size ones according to the model, but basically that screws on there. This is a proper Hoover grease gun. You can't get these anymore. You probably buy them on eBay. Somebody's trying to get rid of them. There must be a load of them made. And what it does, it squeezes this one's probably a bit clogged up, so it hasn't been used a long time, but the grease, there you can see it's coming out now. The grease comes out some holes, so you push it into the bearing from the top, and as you shove the handle down, it forces the grease round through the felt pad and into the ball bearing and grease it. It's the only way you can properly grease a Hoover bearing in capture. It's because the bearing is captivated in a case and everything, so you can't do it unless you've got that proper grease gun. There's no way of getting to the ball bearing. Other than that, what I'm going to do next, I'm going to go and find some carbon brushes to fit this so I can replace those, and then we'll see how we get on after that.